Okay, hi, this is take four. Uh, I'm having trouble getting out what I want to say this week. So, at any rate, it's Monday, we're at the end of the course, we're focused on the final. I hope that this week's lecture has uh, helped you in terms of thinking about the course as a whole and how to apply the skills and the themes that we've learned in the course to your analysis of the case study. Um, I was just going over the lecture again in the slides, and I think it's all pretty much self uh, evident, or I think I've laid it out as good as I can for you. But I will just say, um, or I'll highlight just one thing about each question. In the first part, I ask you about the financials and what's the financial position of the zoo. So clearly, you're going to look in the appendices at the financials there, and we'll look both at the statement of financial position to see how their wealth versus debt is going. But you'll also be looking closely at the one exhibit there that has expenditures and revenues over a series of years, so that you can see sort of what's happening with their profitability and how the big theme of their profitability is being driven by maybe some trends in some of the individual lines. So clearly, you're going to focus on the financial data in the appendices, but I want to make sure that you also take a look closely at the narrative, because the narrative has some nuggets in it that will give you some really good insight as to why some of the trends that you're seeing in the lines, revenue and expense lines, are actually occurring. Okay, um, and some lines are fluctuating, and not so there's no real trend, but there again there's some nuggets in the narrative that help that out. Okay, and then in the second question, you're supposed to make some specific recommendations about that would have to do with financial decisions and operational strategies. Uh, the theme of if you this is the really big theme of the course, right? That your financial strategies and operational strategies have to be complementary and in sync so that you can actually maximize mission. And so, in that second question, as it says right in the formal question, think about the mission of the zoo, what they're really good at, and what they can use to drive money into the organization. And so your recommendations should really um, complement or be uh, framed within that sort of conceptual framework. Okay? Um, and again, this is where the narrative is so helpful, because the narrative will uh, tell you what the mission is. It will also tell you what they're very good at. And again, there are nuggets in the narrative about their financial position, and you can get more precise looking at the financial data at the end. Okay, um, I guess that's all about the final. Just going back for a moment to last week, I thought we had some great discussions again about the what the yin and the yang of government contracting and government funding. Um, and again, just to make it really clear, I was a COO of a $50 million conglomerate that was funded totally with government money. So I'm all in, sort of, in terms of nonprofits using government money to fund uh, programming that maximizes the mission of the nonprofit. But I hope with some of my stories I also told that there were some things that were not so wonderful about working with the government. So just make sure that So the moral of the story is simply not that government money is bad, but that you need to enter any agreement with the government with your eyes wide open, right? So that your mission and your interests really are in sync with the government, and when they diverge, you have a way to protect your organization. Okay. Um, okay, and then in the second part, uh, and it sort of leads into the uh, your possible answer for the case study part two. We talked about earned income, and we revisited the New Stage Theater and how, unbeknownst to it at the time, it had all these capacities and resources that it could have used to generate earned income. And Josefa, in particular, did a fabulous job itemizing her 20 things. So it's really important that nonprofits start to think about how they can use their capacities to generate these incomes. And I'll just digress for a second and give you one example of that. When I worked at that as a COO for that $50 million nonprofit, that was primarily human service. Well, it was all human service programming in an array of different areas. But I'll share that we had bought a kindergarten through high school education software program for students who were in our GED program and our young parents program, so they get their GED. And this was a soup to nuts, wonderful online program. It was geared to the individual students' level of achievement and needs area. So it was really a nifty little thing. It also was an investment of I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000, maybe $60,000 to get the whole thing, because it was both in English and in Spanish. Anyway, it was from the American Education Corporation, and their logo was A plus at the time. I was just online; they've been bought out by somebody else. But if you look at that, you'll see now they have the acronym ALS, Anywhere Learning System. Anyway, so the point is, we had this incredible resource, and we had it basically for one program. And so what we attempted to do over time was to make that educational tool available to a whole array of programs, because in criminal justice, both adult and juvenile criminal justice, in welfare to work, and in some farm worker training programs, we had people who needed to improve their educational capacity, and not their capacity, but their achievement, improve their educational achievements. And so we made that educational program that we had bought for one little program available to everybody. And we even thought about, and had it all worked out, that we were going to run an after-school program, fee for service, an after-school program that would have both an educational component to it and like an arts and crafts little component to it as well. And in the front of the space, we were going to have a little cafe as well, where some of our people who needed some work experience were going to be able to work in the little cafe. So what I'm saying here is that this education program and some leftover computers that we had, dumb terminals, as we kept upgrading our computers and our programs, we had all these leftover computers. We created this space that had 30 or 40 dumb terminals that kids could use to get on this anywhere learning system. And so we really thought outside of the box as to how we could use our capacities to generate another income stream and, provide a service to the community. right? This agency was located in Springfield, Massachusetts, that has a 50% graduation rate. The school system is not doing well. It hasn't done well historically, well, the last 20, 30 years. And so anyway, we were going to maximize mission, we were going to make money, and we were going to do it essentially by multi-purposing our capacities that we already had. And that's what you want to try to think about as you are a nonprofit. Okay? All right, so that's just a sidelight there, but I wanted just to share that. Okay? Lastly, I guess, I've gotten a couple of phone calls from people about the assignment this week. Feel free to call. I'll help you with any way I can. I won't give you the answer, obviously, but if you're unsure, just give a call. The other thing I would say, if you're unsure about something, say in your paper, I'm unsure about how to do this or that, but I've made this assumption, I'm going to go this way because, and just give me the answer. Because what I'm most interested in, right, is can you apply what we've learned to a situation? Because that's what you're going to have to do out in the real world. And that's what we try to do at the graduate level, get you to be able to create a way of thinking so that you can not just memorize facts, but apply them to real life situations. Okay, enough. 11 minutes. I'll just say that I've really enjoyed the class. Hope you have too. And I look forward to reading your finals, and I'll get all the discussion forum gradings done sometime this week. Okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.